Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 spoilers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Cain's confession, Michael's golden ticket, and Noah's awakening. Spoilers for the upcoming 2 weeks of The Young and the Restless point to some unexpected turns. Fans can anticipate that Noah Newman will awaken between October 27th and November 7th. But will he recall anything? Michael Baldwin, meantime, has a fantastic opportunity, thanks to Victor Newman. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Cain Ashby's disclosure. Let's talk about what's happening from October 27th to October 31st before moving on to the 2-weekers. Cain Ashby and Lily Winters will first meet. Cain recently consented to give Lily the AI program so she could destroy it. Cain has to acknowledge that the program has been taken just as she believes she is finally receiving answers. Naturally, Cain believes Victor must have taken it since Phyllis Summers has her own scheme. Phyllis will then provide Victor with her own offer. The condition of Noah Newman. Noah will remain in a medically induced coma over in Los Angeles, but he ought to wake up shortly. Meanwhile, Nick Newman is conducting research on Sienna Bacall. Then, in her search for answers, Sharon Newman takes a risky turn. The week of October 27th, 2025. Chelsea Lawson looks on in horror as Billy Abbott strikes Adam Newman. To help Nick and Sharon, Nikki and Victoria Newman travel to Los Angeles. Victoria and Nikki may also speak with Claire Grace Newman, but the blonde will surprise Holden Novak by revealing a new side of herself. Victor has a proposal of his own for Michael. Michael might have further issues with Lauren Baldwin if he accepts the position. For Harrison Abbott, Cal Abbott goes above and above. Spoilers for the next 2 weeks of The Young and the Restless. Fans might have witnessed Sharon's perilous near-miss during the week of November 3rd. Will she discover too much about the person who attempted to kill Noah? Speaking of Noah, he will probably wake up on November 4th when he makes his debut. Sienna Bacall, on the other hand, confronts Mitch Bacall. Sharon's perilous search for Noah takes a turn for the worse. Updates and teasers for The Young and the Restless hint that Sharon Newman, who is pursuing Noah Newman, is in grave danger. Sharon has been experiencing a tangle of terrified feelings ever since she arrived in Los Angeles and learned that her son had been in a catastrophic accident. Recently, Sharon has experienced too many deadly déjà vu nightmares about her kids. Sharon has spent far too much time in the hospital as a result of her kids' auto accidents. But this one is unique since it's not a simple accident. Under the surface, there is a more complicated past, which makes Sharon want to find the answers to her urgent inquiries. Through conversations with Sienna Bacall, Nick Newman has been trying to sort things out, but he hasn't gotten very far so far. Sharon will soon get the chance to learn more about the unpleasant circumstances surrounding Noah, which nearly resulted in his death. But she will also be in danger. Although Detective Burrow is acting strangely and is obviously hiding information from Noah's parents, it appears that he is right when he says that Noah was purposefully driven off the road. If Sharon gets too close to revealing the truth, someone might try to kill her. Someone might attempt to harm Sharon in the same way if she gets too near to discovering the truth. But as her search for answers grows more intense, there's also a danger that she might become a target in a different way. The truth is that Sharon will inevitably run into some dangerous circumstances based on YNR spoilers. We will see her attempts to reconstruct what happened with Noah, which could put her in a terrifying situation as a result. Will Sharon barely escape her own doom? Could this circumstance bring her into contact with Mitch Bacall, Sienna's husband? When Sharon is in danger, Nick is always right behind her. You can be confident that Nick is always nearby and prepared to step in if Sharon finds herself in a difficult circumstance. Whatever happens, there appears to be a potential that Nick could help her. Since Sharon's terrifying ordeal is scheduled to start on October 31st, YNR may be getting ready for an exciting Halloween cliffhanger. Spoilers for the young and the restless indicate that some disturbing information will be made public shortly. So stay tuned for Sharon's future developments. The week of October 27th to 31st will see the development of 3 must-see YNR storylines. According to spoilers for the week of October 27th, 2025, there are 3 must-see scenes on the young and the restless. Supporters can anticipate that Sharon Newman will take a risky turn. Claire Grace Newman reveals a new side to Holden Novak. In addition, Phyllis Summers attempts to negotiate with Victor Newman. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. The mystery of Noah Newman. First, let's talk about Noah Newman's health issue. The individual simply continued on after the young man was run off the road. Nick Newman is conducting some of his own research because he needs answers. Sharon Newman's perilous path. Sharon will be determined to find the answers on her own in the meanwhile. The blonde is said to have taken a risky turn at the end. She seems to have a hint and starts looking for it. Does she visit the scene of the accident to check for any evidence the police may have missed? Perhaps Nick and Sharon discover that Detective Burrows isn't carrying out his duties as he claims. The new side of Claire Grace Newman. Another must-see event on The Young and the Restless is around Holden and Claire. According to teasers for the week of October 27th, the young man's perception of Claire's new side is hinted at. I therefore question whether she will truly relax and enjoy herself. Perhaps she approaches Holden after being intoxicated? In any event, it should be fascinating, particularly given that Victoria and Nikki Newman will shortly be visiting Los Angeles. Fans speculate that Holden may have caused the collision. But what if someone else was at fault? What if it was Claire, and perhaps her response to Noah in his hospital room is related to that? Claire claimed that Cole Howard was most likely to blame. But what if she was the one driving that evening and simply forgot? What Phyllis Summers suggested. Fans will also witness Phyllis make a daring move back in Genoa City. Phyllis offers Victor a deal for the AI program in a preview video. Even though the redhead believes she is doing everything correctly, I suspect Victor will ultimately let her down. What is her next course of action, and what about Kane Ashby? 1. The Waking Shadow, the coming out of the darkness of Noah Newman. For weeks, Sharon Newman's world was surrounded by the sterile hum of hospital equipment. The only indication that her son, Noah Newman, was still on the verge of death was the constant beeping of monitors. After a terrible vehicle accident on the outskirts of Los Angeles, he was discovered unconscious. The twisted wreckage suggested that the incident was much more sinister than a straightforward accident. To reduce brain swelling, physicians put him in a medically induced coma. But the issue of whether it was an accident still. Nick Newman walked the hospital's gleaming hallways, his mouth tightened in that familiar look of rage and anguish. Every gut told me that this had been done on purpose. Half-truths and missing reports clouded the investigation, but the evidence suggested that Noah's automobile had been driven off the road. The lead investigator, Detective Burrow, seemed evasive and withheld more information than he disclosed. That was enough evidence for Nick. Somebody in Los Angeles wanted the truth to be suppressed. In the faint light of Noah's hospital room across the hall, Sharon sat with her hand lightly resting on his. Time has halted for Sharon. Every thought she had was echoed by the rhythm of waiting, as if the hum of the machines were in time with her heartbeat. In the hopes that her voice might find its way to his subconscious, she quietly muttered his name. Sharon has experienced enough pain to understand that fear, those times when optimism and despair are at odds with one another. This accident was no accident, her maternal instincts told her. There was purpose. Malice was present, and there was going to be a payment. Flashes of memories returned as she gazed at her son's still form. Too many nights spent in sterile hospital rooms. Too many times when she had almost lost a child. This time would be different, she had promised herself. However, Sharon was unaware that her quest for knowledge would take her down a more perilous and sinister path than she had ever encountered. 2. Secrets hidden away Kane's disclosure. A fresh kind of crisis, one with moral ramifications rather than physical danger, arose back in Genoa City. Guilt-ridden, Kane Ashby finally sat across from Lily Winters to impart the news that could change all she believed. They had promised to kill the AI software in order to stop its misuse, and now it was gone. Taken. As Lily took in the words, her breath caught. Stolen? What do you mean by stolen, Kane? You assured me. I understand. Kane cut in, regretting his tone. I had it secured and locked up. I believed that nobody could get to it. But, Lily, it's gone. The system was breached. It is now available. It wasn't just any program, though. It was an advanced artificial intelligence that could mimic psychological traits and decision-making tendencies. It has the power to control markets, individuals, and even whole companies if it falls into the wrong hands. And power like that usually drew the wrong kind of attention in Genoa City. Ever the opportunist, Phyllis Summers sensed a chance. She sowed the suspicion that Victor Newman had planned the heist in order to take control of the program himself when Kane confided in her. It goes without saying that Phyllis always had a personal agenda. Before long, she was smirking and making a proposal as she strode directly into Victor's office. She purred as she placed a digital folder over his desk and said, "Let's talk business." "Victor, do you want power? You can have it from me, but you will pay for it." A gleam of interest and calculation lit up Victor's gaze. Phyllis thought she was moving the chessboard. She was actually stepping right into Victor's trap. The old lion played the game to dominate, not to win. 3. The golden ticket. The predicament of Michael Baldwin. Another plot, which would involve Michael Baldwin in the core of the Newman family's operations, started to take shape in the meantime. At first glance, Victor's proposal to Michael appeared to be the chance of a lifetime. A golden ticket, as Victor put it. With Victor, however, there were always conditions. Michael had always taken pleasure in his commitment. In a city that didn't have much space for them, he had established himself as an ethical man. However, Michael was hesitant when Victor offered him the job, which would give him unheard of authority within the Newman legal and business empire. He was more concerned about the price than the offer. Although Victor had seemed friendly, there was an implicit directive in his voice. "Michael, take the job. Later, you'll thank me." Michael Baldwin's wife, Lauren Baldwin, quickly recognized the farce. "You cannot rely on him," she said. "There's a chain attached to every favor Victor gives. You will repay it for the rest of your life." Michael's ambition clashed with his conscience. Victor's commitment to Lauren that he would never fall into the Newman vortex again would be violated if he accepted his offer. But if Victor was turned away, a door that might never open again would be closed. At a crossroads where every option required sacrifice, Michael was torn between his marriage, his job, and his morality. 4. The coming storm. Sharon's perilous path. Sharon's senses took her into danger back in Los Angeles. The walls seemed to shut in on her with each question. Under strain, Detective Burroughs' kind exterior began to crumble as he grew more defensive. His attitude changed when she brought up the discrepancies in his report, the unfiled witness testimony, the missing traffic camera footage. "Mrs. I think you should let us deal with this, Newman," he stated icily. Sharon, however, had never been one to accept things as they were. Unable to sleep that night, she took her own car to the scene of the collision. The twisted guardrail glinted in the moonlight while the road was empty. With her flashlight shaking in her fingers, she got out of her car. She saw it then, a tiny object partially buried in the ground close to the crash site. A black, jagged piece of metal that appeared to have been ripped off another car. It didn't come from Noah's vehicle. Headlights blazed behind her before she could take a closer look at it. A car rushed toward her, and she turned, protecting her eyes. The car rushed past, too fast, too purposeful, and Sharon dove into the ditch, heart racing. She wasn't supposed to be asking questions. Cradling the metal sliver like a talisman, Sharon returned to the hospital, shaken but unbroken. She filled Nick in on everything. He was incensed not only about the danger she had been in, but also about the fact that the scheme was more extensive than any of them had thought. 5. The recollection of Noah's awakening. A miracle occurred on November 4th, as dawn broke through the blinds. Noah shifted. It was Sharon who first saw the flutter of his eyelids, the slight quiver of his fingers. She leaned forward, gasping for air. "Noah, can you hear me, darling?" His eyes opened slowly. His voice was hoarse and his face was confused. "What happened, Mom?" As Sharon phoned for the doctor, tears were streaming down her face. In a matter of seconds, the nurses and monitors in the room were beeping more quickly than her heartbeat. However, Noah's fear increased along with his knowledge. He recalled bits and pieces of it, the screech of tires, the glaring spotlights, the sound of another car. His eyes were wide as he murmured, "They ran me off the road." There was no accident. Nick and Sharon looked at each other grimly. Their worst suspicions were validated. Their son had been attempted to be killed by someone, and that someone may still be out there. Noah's resuscitation, however, revealed both new riddles and answers. His memory was jumbled, with faces he couldn't identify overlaying with flashes of remembrance. Through the mist, one name kept coming up: Sienna. Who was she? What role did she play in the collision? 6. The Web of Lies and Sienna Bacall. An enigma has always surrounded Sienna Bacall. She was viewed by some as a dazzling socialite and by others as a cunning opportunist. But beyond her well-preserved facade lay a lady with perilous secrets. As a businessman with a track record of dubious activities and a temperament as erratic as his investments, her husband, Mitch Bacall, was no stranger to trouble himself. Sienna confronted Mitch in their opulent Los Angeles mansion after discovering that Nick Newman had started looking into her. She growled, "You assured me that this wouldn't affect us." Mitch's jaw tensed as he poured himself a drink. "You're going overboard. Nobody can connect us to that child." Sienna's tone faltered. "Mitch, he's not just any youngster. He's a Newman. Consequently, we are already in over our heads." Sienna made the fatal error of underestimating Sharon as her paranoia increased. Sienna's mask started to come off when Sharon showed up at her home, pretending to be grateful for her concern over Noah. Sharon could see the tightness in her voice and the glint of terror in her eyes. There was a problem. Later that evening, Sharon got an enigmatic call from an unidentified number. "Stop digging, or you'll end up like your son," a garbled voice said. 7. The women of Newman come together. The other Newman women came together while Sharon was in danger in Los Angeles. Determined to provide for their family and learn the truth, Nikki and Victoria came to town. When they arrived, the situation became more convoluted and stronger. Victoria started to think that this accident might be connected to the corporate espionage taking place in Genoa City, while Nikki's intuition warned her that Victor knew more than he was revealing. They also made time to see Claire Grace Newman, whose erratic actions had started to cause concerns. To her family, Claire had always been a mystery, tormented by secrets she would not divulge and caught between loyalty and hate. The young man who had been close to her, Holden Novak, started to see a different side of her, one that was darker, more liberated, and possibly even a bit dangerous. After a few too many beers, Holden discovered Claire by herself in a hotel bar one evening. Her words were enigmatic, her laughs fragile. She said, "Have you ever done something so awful that you begin to question whether you deserve everything that comes after you?" Holden's forehead wrinkled. "Claire, what are you talking about?" But all she could do was smile, her eyes sparkling. "Ignore it. There are some roads that are best avoided." Holden was unaware that Claire's guilt was real. That night, she had been close to the collision site. A part of her also questioned whether she had been driving, even though she assured herself it was a coincidence. 8. Victor's Trap and Phyllis's Bet. Phyllis Summers thought she had a winning hand back in Genoa City. She believed she could negotiate profit, protection, and power by giving Victor access to the stolen AI program. But Victor's vengeance was even more legendary than his forbearance. With the cool detachedness of a predator watching its prey, he listened to Phyllis's pitch. "Phyllis, do you believe you can outsmart me?" Finally, in a low, thoughtful voice, he inquired. "I respect your bravery. However, you're battling forces that are well outside of your control." Phyllis grinned. "Perhaps, but then you are too." Phyllis was unaware that Victor had a contingency plan in place. He had his tech team tracking every data packet she sent, while she believed she was selling him the AI program. Victor's researchers found out within hours that Phyllis had placed tracking codes on his network to keep an eye on it. The trap was set by the following morning. Her systems stopped working. Her accounts went cold. Victor just gave her a file, which contained data that may destroy her career and personal life. When Phyllis barged into his office demanding explanations, he stated calmly, "You wanted to make a deal. This is mine. Quietly leave or suffer the consequences." Phyllis was in a tight spot. Victor Newman demonstrated once more that no one in Genoa City is a better player. 9. The suspense, Sharon's last caution. Sharon's investigation took a dangerous turn as Halloween drew near. A luxury car registered under a dummy company, one associated with Mitch Bacall, was linked to the fragment she had discovered at the scene of the collision. Mitch denied everything when she approached him, but his fear exposed him. Sharon felt like she was being followed when she got back to her hotel later that night. The lights in the hallway flickered. Behind her, the elevator made a gentle dinging sound. No one was there when she turned. A shade then shifted. She was pulled back before she could scream by a gloved hand that emerged from the shadows. Noah was contacting her for the first time since waking up, and her phone clattered to the floor when the screen flashed his name. The line died. 10, the way ahead. Every relationship in The Young and the Restless is about to change as a result of the events that transpire between October 27th and November 7th. A deeper mystery that is intertwined with Sienna and Mitch's secrets begins with Noah's emergence. Nick's protective tendencies will force him into a confrontation that can turn violent, while Sharon's perilous quest for the truth could cost her everything. Genoa City will be rocked by Kane's confession, drawing Phyllis and Victor into yet another power struggle. Michael Baldwin, meantime, has to choose if Victor's golden ticket is a chance for him or a snare that could end his marriage. Regarding Claire Grace Newman, her secret may be the piece that connects everything. Who drove Noah off the road isn't the only question. That's the reason. Because there is always a reason behind an accident in Genoa City. There is a cost to every secret. Furthermore, all confessions are made too late.